Elon Musk is a tremendously successful businessman, absolute genius, but has a terrible HR record sitting behind him. If you look through history, there's been an awful lot of people paid off with and made to sign non-disclosure agreements and settlements. Lots of cases almost end up in court and get settled.
Hi, I'm Maddie Hell, and welcome to the Tech Report. Today I've got Will Guy, a tech journalist, on the show. Will, thank you so much for joining the Tech Report today.
Pleasure.
Let's start off with this news of Elon Musk today. He has settled this lawsuit with 4 top former Twitter executives. This happened after he basically fired them after he took over the company in 2022 when he bought it. They then subsequently sued the billionaire for more than $128 million for unpaid service last year. These are pretty notable people. This includes former CEO Parag Agrawal. So can you walk me through this situation?
Yeah, these were 4 people who left the company fairly soon after Musk bought the company. He tried to remove them on suggesting that they weren't doing their jobs. Then it turned into a back and forth legal scenario. And it just goes to prove that even if you're Elon Musk, the chickens eventually come home to roost. He broke employment law. He wasn't able to do what he did. He quite clearly tried to persuade everybody he could do what he did, and then he had to settle. And Elon Musk is a tremendously successful businessman, absolute genius, but has a terrible HR record sitting behind him. If you look through history, there's been an awful lot of people paid off with and made to sign non-disclosure agreements and settlements. Lots of cases almost end up in court and get settled. And I think that probably is the way that many big business people work. But for those people that were impacted in this, now these were 4 big senior executives at Twitter, but at the same time, around half the workforce at the company was fired. Now, some would say rightly, because it was bloated and wasn't making money. Some would say lots of the people were actually treated with zero respect and were marched out of the door. So I think there are still cases left to settle with people further down the chain at Twitter, now X, but the senior execs have got in and have got some kind of significant settlement to stop this going to court.
Well, Will, I wonder how this will. I wonder if other disgruntled ex-employees of not just X, but even other companies that Elon Musk owns will follow their lead and will and sue him if they were fired, knowing that he was willing to settle this case.
Yeah, it's going to be an intriguing one to see how this plays out, because anybody who's worked for a US company in the UK or overseas will know how employment law differs for their colleagues in other countries. But for me, the interesting thing here is when Elon Musk took over at X, or Twitter before it became X, he laid off lots of people using US employment law, which wasn't the same as in the EU or the UK. So there were definitely a load of cases outstanding that were still to be dealt with here. I think this does also wake us up to the fact that super, super rich bosses of companies and big rich companies will sometimes often look to settle rather than get into the whys and what fors of public disclosure and information that gets reported during court cases. So I think there is probably an appetite for anybody who's got long-term issue or has had problems with Elon Musk and has been fired, possibly under law to revisit that.
Moving on to the electric vehicles world. Will, we know that it seems that EVs are becoming a little bit more popular in the UK. Chinese EV maker BYD says that the UK has become its 2nd largest market after China. It saw sales surge 880% in September from the year before. Now, that is a huge jump. Why is that?
Well, I think they have started from a lower base. They've been a smaller company that's suddenly shot to attention in the UK. But the reason is quite simple. They are really high quality electric vehicles that are being sold cheaper than others, including Tesla. And if we were talking about Elon Musk a moment ago and the fact that he needs to continue his businesses growing, Tesla are reporting that UK sales in the UK grew about 7.5% year on year. But when you're in a situation here with someone like BYD with growth around 800%, opening new dealerships and new locations all around the UK all the time, if you listen to TV or radio, they're all and podcasts. They're all over the place, advertising and getting the message out there about their brand. So I think Tesla's vehicles are disappointing at the moment in the eyes of investors, and for many, there's this huge growth for companies like BYD.
So this isn't good for Elon Musk if this becomes, the most well-known EV car in the UK and completely knocks Tesla, I guess, off its pedestal and stops becoming, sought after.
Yeah, that's the issue. So Tesla is a company that's always had real cutting edge technology, got great charging infrastructure. But someone like BYD is offering comparable performance in a car for less money. I think they're often, cheaper. They can even be deemed, reviewers have referred to BYD vehicles as more comfortable. And some have even actually been a fan of the more conventional buttons and stuff you have in a BYD compared to touchscreen and everything in a Tesla. So there are huge fans of Tesla cars. Lots and lots of people love them. There are many people who will evangelize about them. But if you're looking at attracting the rest of the potential market to electric vehicles, it is clear that with companies like MG and BYD and others sort of settling into this market, which was previously dominated by Tesla and then, supported by a few of those more traditional US car manufacturers and some of the European ones. We're now in a situation where Chinese electric vehicles are pretty much going to lead the way, and are going to, push Tesla into second or maybe even third place.
The messaging app will Discord to the official ID photos for about 70,000 of its users have been stolen by hackers. So this is quite concerning. Will, do we know who and kind of what demographic will be impacted?
Well, so Discord is traditionally used by gamers, but gamers are not just teenagers in their bedrooms anymore. It's people of all ages. So I would imagine this will be people from their teens through to people in their 40s, maybe even 50s, depending on who's playing what and how they're using it. But perhaps the most worrying thing about this is just several months ago, government ministers in the UK were out there talking about how, because we've got online age verification here now as part of the Online Safety Act, having to hand over your ID to get content, age gated or restricted for over 18s, like legal porn and other stuff. And we were being told just how safe it was to hand over our IDs to services like this to verify how old we were. And now we're in a situation where if 70,000 forms of government ID, not just in the UK, but around the world, have been taken, these are some of the most valuable bits of information to hackers. Government ID, like a driving license or a passport, the information on it typically doesn't change every couple of years like it might do on a credit card. So it's kind of a piece of information for the long game when you're a scammer. So yeah, this is hugely damaging. Another day, another data leak. So we kind of, as a society, begin to lose a bit more interest in it. But if you're trying to persuade millions of people in the UK to hand over their ID to verify, to comply with the Online Safety Act, this is exactly the type of news you don't want.
Yeah, this does show the risk of these age verification apps. Do you see it impacting further apps, further rules in the UK?
Well, it's an intriguing one because the UK is committing to this verification. I personally support the idea of protecting young people online, and I've got no problem verifying, but I'd like to know that any ID or information I'm handing over to an organization is kept safe. And in this instance, Discord has been hacked and they've lost 70,000 pieces of data in terms of, and this time it was, state government IDs, which, like I said, are some of the best best data you can put in one of these situations that hackers might want. Our personal information is hugely valuable now on the internet, and that's the reality of being online in 2025. Somebody is going to try and get your data, and it's a constant game of cat and mouse now for businesses and ourselves to protect our data.
Back to Elon Musk, Will. Hundreds of Elon Musk's Starlink satellites are deorbiting and burning up in the Earth's atmosphere each year, about up to 5 per day, raising concerns about the space debris and potential atmospheric pollution. So this surely does not look good on Elon Musk.
It's not a great look, but I'm going to start by saying I use Starlink. So I live in the middle of the countryside and don't get a good traditional broadband signal here. I am literally or a 4 or 5G signal. So I use Starlink as my backup for my internet services here because the other service I have regularly fails, and it's an incredible service. But to make this service so good, and Starlink, if you're wondering what it is satellite internet, so internet from space essentially. They've had to put thousands of these small, kitchen bin sized satellites up into space in order to get this network running and getting this network running quickly. And the reality is, you can fire currently under law that nobody governs space. So you can fire as many satellites indiscriminately as you want to into space. And Elon Musk has done just that. He's fired, I think, 4,000, nearly 5,000 of these little bin-sized satellites into space over the last 5 to 10 years, to the extent that astronomers are very upset because it's kind of, in their mind, killing their view of the stars and the constellations, because you're constantly seeing these small satellites coming into orbit. But at the same time, these have short lifespans, these satellites, and what goes up must come down. And that's the danger. It's going to damage stuff in orbit, in space, so it could damage spaceships, space stations, satellites, those kinds of things. But they're also going to come down and start landing on planet Earth, and they're not all going to land in the sea.
Well, that's what I mean. Has any landed in Earth and hurt someone? Landed in a house? Landed in a field?
I think it would do more than hurt somebody if it hit them. Let's be very clear. But we haven't had an instance quite like that yet. But with more of this stuff being fired into space, and Elon Musk not being the only one doing it, because Amazon have are just about to launch a similar service and are firing these rockets into space. The UK government part owns, or did part own, a company in this similar space. So there's 4 or 5 different companies trying to do exactly the same as Starlink are doing, and they're all firing up these different satellites into space because they want to get there before laws come into place which stop them firing things into space. So yeah, there will be more problems over the years, and people will still want to keep firing more of these satellites up into space.
One to watch. Just finally, Sam Altman, CEO of OpenAI, he said that he's jealous of Gen Z college dropouts. This is what he said. I thought it was an interesting thing. He said, "I'm envious of the current generation of 20-year-old dropouts because the amount of stuff you can build, the opportunity space is so incredibly wide." He said that in the past couple of years, he's had not a real chunk of free mental space to think about what he would build now. But I know that there would be a lot of cool stuff to build. So this is an interesting thing for one of the biggest tech giants, richest men, to be jealous of college dropouts for the amount of time they have to use their imagination to build new things.
There's a lot to unpack here, because I'd love a 12-year holiday too, but I don't think I'm going to get it. What we're finding quite interesting, right, is tech billionaires are now also trying to extend their lives. So they're spending millions and billions of their own money on essentially trying to become immortal. So that's something else that's being pursued at the other end. So there's definitely a longer discussion about the mind and the psyche of the world's richest and most popular people. But if you trace back to where Sam Altman starts here, loads and loads of the biggest and most successful people in the world of tech, Bill Gates, Larry Ellison of Oracle, all sorts of other people dropped out of college or dropped out of education, and apparently, as the story always goes, mythically came up with this idea for whatever their big business was when they were down to their last $2. So you find yourself in a situation where it's intriguing that even tech billionaires are lusting for a time when they get more time to come up with new ideas and new inspiration. And maybe we'll probably see them cloning themselves in the future so they can do just that.
I mean, the grass is always greener, Will. Will, Guy, thank you so much for joining the Tech Report today.
Thanks.